Okay. Had to run and grab some socks. My feet are freezing underneath the ceiling fan. We keep it kind of cold in the house. But with the ceiling fan blowing on me too, it's a little too much. All right. Another lower low here. Ten, 10. Okay, cleared up that area in here. If dollar wants to make its run to our buy side that we had on a 60-minute chart, I think it was. Go to electronic trading hours. Watch it from a 1-minute chart. I'm surprised it's not had any real run on sell side at all, except for this in here. That to me is not all that terribly important. You might be thinking, okay, well, what's the significance in that? Well, even if we go higher, like say we go higher today, say completely they come out with FOMC and they pull some shenanigans and they send this thing higher, and 50%, 3/4 of the entire range of yesterday gets completely given back. I'm not submitting that because I don't know what they're going to do at 2 o'clock. We have to wait and see. Then it goes without saying, if it's going to go up, what's it going up for? Because there's really no inefficiency to speak of, so it's all buy stops. If we're going to go lower, it would be reasonable to go up to take stops to unseat those individuals and secure more position before dropping it lower, because we're already in a real deep discount. Watch this one here. There's also a volume imbalance in there. I kind of like how it did this. Now I'd like to see it close above it. It would have been better like if it would closed up here, and then the next candle it traded down into it and then reacted off of it. Then that's good. I don't like what it's doing here. That to me is not all that helpful. Hand me that right there, the blue one. booger moved right when I was putting the trend line thing down. For sake of discussion, like I say, this was a day we were looking for longs, and it was just everything lined up. There was no impact news to be concerned about in the afternoon. I would already be long. First partial would be above here. Then I would look for all the things I mentioned earlier to see if it can support that run. And then I would take 80% of the remaining portion off at mid gap, and I'd leave one final little piece to see if I can get the full closure of the gap and trail stop loss and manage it that way. But we don't have that situation today. We have FOMC. But I get questions a lot. Like, how would you handle this? And how would you handle that? How would you look at this if it did that? Or there's so many different kinds of scenarios that unless you see them and it's happening in real time, it's hard to make a satisfying response to a lot of the emails I get. What did it just touch? Now, one of the observations that you should have picked up on is when you see me doing my executions and I'm entering the trades, managing the stop loss, doing partials or adding to it as a pyramid position, the markets are not ever really behaving like this. Have you noticed that? They're in low resistance liquidity runs where the market just really, unless I'm proving that stuff still works. I think I did 2 or 3 high resistance liquidity run trades, but by far and large, they're usually showcasing low resistance liquidity run conditions. So that way I'm confident I have all the things firing in the right direction for me. That's why I'm recording that trade. What you hear from people that don't like me or they're trying to sell something that they want you to buy, they'll say that they're cherry picked and I got a lot of different computers doing it all at the same time. It's very hard for me to focus on anything but whatever I'm doing at the time, and I'm easily distracted. So that whole bullshit falls apart real quick. But you should be noticing that the way the market is behaving here, by contrast with how I show examples, where the trades just have real nice smooth price runs. It's usually really quick and sudden when it moves away from my entries, and rarely does it ever go towards the stop loss. And that's why I'm managing the stop the way I do in the examples, exactly how I teach it in the mentorship videos on this YouTube channel. All of these gyrations up, and down, seeing all the candles expand, come back, reach higher, then come back deep. This is what tape reading is. Like, you have to get yourself comfortable with seeing this is what price can do. And when you're learning, especially I've noticed it with the young folks that try to learn trading, not just for me, but other people, they want instant gratification, no adversity, no drawdown. They want everything to go immediately in their favor, and it's just real easy. I wish every trading was like that. I want trading like that too. But I've been around long enough to know it doesn't behave like that. And they don't like to be told that it's not going to be like that. They think there's a trick to only picking the setups that only does that and you can't lose. And it's a unicorn. They don't exist. Certainly not going to find it on an FOMC day, that's for sure. But what's the benefit then? If you're not going to take a trade, like, what's the benefit? Understanding what it looks like, what it feels like watching the price action. Because even though this is directly related to the week that we're in, the day that we're in, on the heels of a large range down day, all those things converging, that is creating what would be otherwise, even without the economic calendar. This is what a hard trading day looks like with low resistance. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. With high resistance. So this will be equivalent to what would be considered a high resistance liquidity run condition, where the moves are very, well, just look at it. It's a lot of give and take back and forth. Yes, it's drifted lower. Yes, I'm not willing to sell short. But being short, look how it retraces. It comes back deep. It comes back to levels that are not something that I would be willing to absorb or have any logic behind as to why I would anticipate it doing that. So is that communicating that this is an environment that is worth assuming any risk in monetarily? No. But because you're engaging it and you're studying it and you're watching it and you're seeing, I'm sure some of you were like, okay, I would buy here, I would sell here, I would put my stop loss here, I wouldn't have my stop loss there, I would move my stop loss there. And you probably have been feeling like, wow, if that would have been a trade, I would have got my ass handed to me, or this would be uncomfortable holding it right now. That's what tape reading is. It's for you to feel what it's like to have in your head just an opinion without pressing the button. That's a stage in your development that is best not skipped. You're usually going right in there pressing demo trades, not knowing what you're doing and trying to get your experience that way, or listen to people that are clueless telling you you got to put real money in. You can't learn how to trade without putting real money in. That's bullshit. That's people that are making no money trading and only showing you the sunny side. Because I guarantee you, if they were going to come out here and trade live, they would be scared shitless. They'd be scared to do anything. You don't learn how to trade starting with real money, and even a small account doesn't change it. It makes it worse. It's bad enough that you don't want to see your pride bruised if you think about something being the outcome and it not do it. That hurts, especially men, and the younger men even more so, because they're out there trying to prove themselves like I tried to do when I was 20. Ladies tend to do better because they just want to make money because they want to spend it. I know that because my wife, she's a, she's a world class champion in spending money. Did you make any more this week? We're just hanging around inside this one here. See how the bodies are just hugging that consequent encroachment. But by having the exposure of seeing and experiencing what price does when it is not low resistance conditions. Low resistance doesn't mean a trade that's going long and it has no resistance to stop it from going higher. It is low resistance in the scope that it's not met with any slowing down, your entries are not being obscured by cloudy price action choppiness. It's this open, beautiful ranges where it's like literally just a road right in front of you with no cars in front of you. It's this open lane, traffic is gone, and you can just push the gas pedal down to the floor, and there's no cops, and nobody could get hurt if you crashed. So it's just all you taking the risk, and it's running real easy to your targets. Very little retracements against you that would otherwise scare you or make you feel uncomfortable. And any retracements that do form, they're just opportunities for you to get another partial on to build a pyramid. That's really by definition the easiest way I can explain it. But that doesn't sound easily explained to a new student or a new viewer, because it's like, what the hell are you talking about? But for individuals that have watched these types of price action, or these types of conditions rather, these are the ones you don't want to trade in. Or if you start trading and you find yourself in them, do not let it take your stop. Be aggressive about closing it before it goes to your stop, because it probably will go to your stop. Blink. So that little area of smooth price action got tagged. And now look at all of this, okay? Now is that something that is noteworthy for you to put in your journal? Yes, absolutely. Relative equal lows, sell sides below that. They dug it in there one more time, and 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and said, no, thank you. I told you to watch this fair value gap. It wicked through it a few times, but look at the bodies. Now, it's uncomfortable watching it if you're in a live trade. It's hard to hold these types of trades when you have money on them. Why? Because it's high resistance. It's being met with difficulty expanding higher. It's lethargic when it does move. It's not real energetic. It just starts to just keep running. But when it goes a little bit, it wants to come back a lot more. And that's what high resistance liquidity runs are. You can trade them. You can be profitable in them, but it spends so much mental capital worrying about the trade not working for you that, in my opinion, I'm trying, and I have tried for decades, to try to teach my students not to trade in these environments. But you don't know what they are until you've studied them, which is why we look at hard market conditions. We don't say, oh, well, the market's got some bad calendar data coming out, so don't even look at your charts. No, I say, keep your powder dry. Let this day pass. Let these moves go by, but still study them. Because the dividends that they're going to pay you in terms of experience, you can't put a price tag on it. Like you can't put a price tag on that. Watching this fair value gap here run to this little pool of liquidity, it's not much. 50 to 75, so 25-ish, 25-30 handles. That is a nice little bread and butter run. Would I have taken that trade with a live account? Absolutely not, because it goes against everything I've preached to you today. We're on the heels of a large range day, FOMC, it's the morning, retail wants to be short, and I think, by my experience, that they're going to want to go back up into that opening range gap. But I don't know for certain how far they'll drop it before it does that, because there's a whole lot of tomfoolery that goes on in the morning session and in the lunch session of FOMC, and then all the stops are pulled out during FOMC and at 2:30. It's crazy town. But this could be absolutely logged. But look how long you got to wait to see the movement that would otherwise, in low resistance liquidity runs, The first time it drops into that, it would respect it and then start running. You wouldn't see all the attempts to get down underneath it with the wicks to try to scare you out of it. The low resistance liquidity runs are the safest, most comfortable, fastest, easy money you can make as a trader. But it is hard as hell to learn what they look like beforehand because you got to watch a lot of this type of price action. And none of my students like to do it. Not one of them said, I'm enjoying this. It sucks. It's like doing leg day. Okay. You got to do it. Otherwise, you look like an ice cream cone. Or an olive on a toothpick. Now, I would like to see it try to make or mount a respectable run now up into that 495 level because this is the liquidity that stands right now, and then right above that is here. So I want to see, does it have a willingness to sharply run there and get to that and sweep above it and engage this? And then if it goes here, it can come back down and work inside the order flow of the difference between the highs here and the bodies that are just below the consequent encroachment. And then maybe use that as a stepping stone to maybe run the buy side here. And then ultimately, get what I'm looking to see happen is that mid gap traded to. Now, would you, if you were short, would you feel comfortable where we're at right now and how price is behaving? That's what I'm thinking in my head. My internal dialogue right now is if I was short, would I feel comfortable here? And would I feel comfortable if it takes out the 17,480 level? I wouldn't want to see 480 traded above if I was short. How do you recognize low resistance liquidity runs? How do you recognize the conditions that are going to be easy trading when it's not behaving and performing like this? And there are lots of things that tell you in the economic calendar and or the where the market has traded that will help you discern. Yeah, right now we're in high resistance liquidity run. When you, if you're listening as a student, you remember me talking about this a lot more times than I talked about the low resistance liquidity run conditions. And many times, every time I allowed a new group of students come in, their impatience would kick in and they would say, well, you're always talking about high resistance liquidity runs. And it would seem like to them, because they haven't been spent any time with me studying, they would feel like, well, you're making excuses why the trades are not running real easy and going to your targets. No, that's not what I was doing. The majority of the time training was identifying where you're going to have hardship and difficulty. When you understand all those things and why they repeat and the factors around that that create these types of conditions, then by avoiding those very conditions, what are you doing? You're filtering them out, or at least the majority of them, which will then afford you the opportunity to trade in the conditions that would be opposite of that, which would be what? Low resistance liquidity runs. And you're going to find that there are periods of the month where there's small little pockets of low resistance liquidity runs. And the majority is going to be like this, which is why I teach my students not to have an everyday trading approach, every day engaging price and studying it. Yes, every day. Every day's leg day. Okay, every day. When you're trading and learning how to read price, not trading, but when you're trying to learn how to read price action, and study what the algorithm does and understand liquidity and market conditions and market profile. That is not the market profile that you probably think like Corbs uses. I don't subscribe to that. The things that I'm referring to is the mannerisms, okay, in which the market will behave in. It goes down to go up. It goes up to go down. It consolidates, then drops to go up. It consolidates and goes up, then to drop hard. They're like profiles. I've given those out on the YouTube channel. I've given you intraday templates. I've given you daily templates. I've given you weekly templates. The yearly template is the seasonal tendency. And if you operate and trade in that, it'll help you ferret out the hard times and focus on the easy ones. And if you limit your trading to just that, you won't trade every day, but you're going to make a whole lot more fucking money and you're going to have fun doing it. You won't lose your hair. You won't be panicking, having anxiety attacks. You'll enjoy doing it. And that's what it should be. It should be enjoyed and ran like a business. All right, so we finally got our way above that little short-term high here. So now what you want to do is you want to log that fair value gap down here to that run. How long did it take? How much of a drawdown did you incur? And the question is okay, if you were going to do this, like say for the sake of argument, that this was a low resistance liquidity run day, where we didn't have all the other factors that we have here that's plaguing us as a resistance to price running smoothly and efficiently and quickly. Because that's what everybody really wants. They want those sharp, fast, easy runs, get to target and be out. Well, that's how I teach. But the way you avoid these bad days where it's not easily done, you have to know a whole lot more to navigate them, is to see them and spend time in them and do a lot of heavy lifting with studying and journaling them. And then when you start seeing the low resistance liquidity run conditions, they are absolutely perfectly illustrated as this is an obvious run here. This is an obvious run down here. And because they're so fun and they're so easy, they're the very thing like sugar that makes you want to go back and like, I want to have that again. It was so fun and easy. And that's how you fall victim. When you get the low resistance liquidity run signature and you get that trade and you get out in profit, you turn the charts off. You do not listen to jokers that don't know what the fuck they're talking about and say you have to push your edge, because if you push your edge against concrete, you're going to dull it. You go in, you have your knife, it's sharp. You go in there when it's low resistance liquidity run, you cut out your pound of flesh and you take it home and you eat good. Come back again. If the conditions are ripe again for low resistance, then you trade. If not, go do something else. It doesn't mean you can't trade well if you say, no, I'm not going to trade today. It means that you're in control of yourself. But let's assume for a moment that this was a day where it is a low resistance condition. And you were going to use what I've outlined here, watching that fair value gap. If you were trying to buy that, where would your stop loss be? It has to be below this candle's body. Because while this is the one I took your attention to, because it should act as what? Inversion. Remember, up here, that's where everybody thinks go short. This one is just the idea of how it should find a footing. But over here, this is the natural bullish fair value gap. So if you were seeing that while I was talking about it, you understand also by the rules, this is the candle that makes the fair value gap. So you have to do what? You have to place your stop loss below the body, or if it's allowed for you for risk and you're allowing for it in terms of how much you're risking, as much as the low, but I use the body. So your risk would be buying it in here, and there's your stop loss. It wicked down into it, but that's why I asked you, go back and listen to the recording. When it dropped down here, when it was bold-faced like that and it started to pull away, I asked you, what did it just touch? What did it touch? You have a fair value gap there, but to the left of that candle, what kind of candle is it? Down close. Inside liquidity. When we're anticipating a run higher, to run for buy side, to put pressure on retail traders that want to be short, and also try to work towards that opening range gap. So your stop loss would be here, and this is a bullish order block. Oh, I can't see it. It's too thin. Bam, hits it. And then look at the bodies. Was the bodies indicating that it was telegraphing that it was going to drop now? Not if you use the logic I'm teaching you. The bodies tell you what? The narrative. It tells you the storyline behind price. This is what it's supporting, the idea that, yeah, it might make these little tails in price action down here, but that doesn't do anything except for scare retail traders or people that don't know what they're doing. No, there's no reason to be excited or animated or anxious. No anxiety whatsoever. And there's no necessity for that. No reason to feel like that. Unless you're going to try to trade in these environments and over leverage and over trade, then you should feel all those feelings and cortisol coursing through your body. Yeah, it's going to be hard to breathe and you're going to be sick to your stomach and feel like you're going to pass out or shit yourself. That's a normal experience for trying to do those types of things. But your trading shouldn't be that way. So we had this run here, traded back up into that. So we had this to here, that's one trade. From here to here, that's one trade. Or you can study it like this. This could be your entry, that could be your stop. So what's your risk? You can do double tap. Double tap is where you take two entries or two contracts, entered at the same position, entry, and you take one off here and you take the second off at your other target. Or you can look at it this way. Buy, and then when I was telling you it should run higher here, if it's good, you use that as what? Buying the mean threshold of the down close candle before it even leaves the candle. How can I do that? And you've watched me do this in trades where I annotate an order block, and then you're probably one of the folks that were sending me comments in the video where no one else can see it. And you're saying, why is that an order block? It didn't go above it and come back down to it. Because I can trade inside the PDA rates because I know what my tools are. I made these things, so I know how to navigate with them. What did I teach you yesterday and the day before? That's my target. That's my range. Is that order block engaging and in close proximity to what? Equilibrium. When I'm bullish, when you're bullish, and you're using what I'm teaching you, what the algorithm will treat price as, if you're bullish and it trades above and comes back down to equilibrium, equilibrium becomes what? Discount. It goes without saying if this down close candle is going to promote higher prices afterwards, I don't need to wait for it to come back down and touch it as an order block as you classically know it as. These are the things I've kept from people. These are the types of things I didn't want to teach the public because every time Dick and Harry was going out there on YouTube and having their little multi-level marketing horseshit companies, okay, and teaching like they invented it themselves or they discovered it. These tools and these things. We've discovered so many guys on YouTube right now running ads. It's my stuff that they're using. It's all my stuff. And yeah, we've discovered. You didn't discover shit. You found my fucking leaked videos is what you found. Okay, you didn't discover anything in price action. You found my stuff. That's what that is. You found my shit. But that was the reason why I kept most things guarded. And that's why I won't teach all 81 of my PDA rates because they're abused. I don't get the credit for it. The Lord doesn't get the credit for giving it to me. So I'm not going to give it out. It is what it is. You had enough anyway. But you could add in here as a pyramid. It takes you to here. And as I was mentioning earlier, I can enter that. You can enter it when you understand the logic around the mean threshold. What is the bodies of the candles here telling you? It's respecting mean threshold. Half of that body or down close candle. You understand it by doing this, where it trades to the change in the state of delivery. opening price on a down close candle, when it's a valid bullish order block, trades down into a here. Does it send price higher? Yes. Clears the relative equal highs. That's another trade there too. But you can't add there. Why? You can't add there. That's a trade where you take off a remaining partial if you had one. You can't enter there. Why can't you enter there? Why is entering at mean threshold here while the formation of the down close candle is there? Why is that valid and this is not valid? Only in order block theory, because this is in a premium. It's not in close proximity to the range at which you're trading. There's levels, there's rules, there's logic. And trying to buy this one here on a day like today, while it's in a premium, you don't know if it's going to retrace and go lower. I don't know that right now because of the uncertainty, and there's a lot of manual intervention on this day, just like the Thursday ahead of non-farm payroll. That's why I don't like to trade Thursday before non-farm payroll, because the things that I expect to see in price that are so perfectly precise, that are so well scheduled in time, they are not there as they are when those days are not the calendar day you're trading. I don't know how to make it any plainer than that. The advantages are not there. Can you trade them profitably? Absolutely you can. I'm not willing to do that because I want to be in there when I have all things in my favor. Wouldn't you want to trade that way? Why would you want to do it any other way? I mean, if you're going to work real hard to get that funded account passed and you finally get there, and just because they offer you 15 contracts leverage, which is suicide, that's why all the guys that do it, they can't hold their trade. We're going to talk about that before I close it. You have to trade a size that you can live with, and every fluctuation isn't going to make you gasp. And the folks that do it and they live stream, do they look calm? No, they're not calm. They're freaking out. They're hoping and praying. That's why they're not showing you when they enter the trade. Then it starts moving in their favor. Okay, yeah, I'm long here. You know, I'm looking at this and it stops here. They had that little boost of confidence. They would be able to take the trade right in front of you live if they just did one contract. But they think that their audience won't be impressed with that because the one contract result will not be enough money to warrant another return to watch their video or their live stream, when they ain't even making half of that at their job. So everything about this industry is ass backwards. And I try to be many times callous in the way I deliver it, but I tell you the truth. I tell you how it needs to be, how you're going to have to study to learn it. And many people come to me willing to say, yeah, I'm going to go and put myself through the ringer. Whatever you say, I'm going to do at ICT. But then when I start the process with them and they realize how hard it is to adhere to, and it's not easy. Now think about, they tap out basically is what I'm saying. Now I'm going to focus back on live price action. So we've had this buy side taken. Remember those relative equal highs there? So we've cleared that. So that's no longer an issue. Watch this. We are at the low of the opening range gap by touching that right there. That's what that returning to the opening range gap. This can sometimes be a return to it and then it sends it lower. Now, if we didn't have price action like this and it wasn't FOMC on the morning session of the day after a large range down day, I might entertain the idea of being a short seller if it touched the bottom of the opening range when it does something like this. But because I'm not bearish where we're at, I'm not trying to short, I'm not looking for a sell. I'm anticipating us getting up into the mid gap right here. I'm willing to see it, give an initial response and maybe repel it, and then wind up at a later time to run through to get this buy side and accelerate to mid gap. You see how all these things, it requires experience, folks. And I've asked God many times how I could make this simpler and explain it simpler, but it's a lot of time and a lot of scenarios and variables that I don't know how to do that, to be honest with you. I don't know how to do that. And I'm confident that no one else will because they don't know all the scenarios in my head that warrants my experience to speak when it does. So that's why I say the things I say, and the young guys get mad at me, and they make sock puppet accounts, and they start to troll me, and they say, ICT's rebranded things. It's the stuff that's always been in existence. But when you ask them to prove it, it's crickets. They can't do that. They can't prove it's rebranded anything. Man, I am freezing sitting here. Hold on 1 second. Turn the ceiling fan off, man. I'm feeling 50 today. Old man bones aching me. So I guess one of the things that, since it's the last day, you guys were a little selfish yesterday in the like. So either I didn't do well in explaining what was transpiring in Nasdaq before it happened, despite your chart showing it, or you just didn't want to, give me any kind of feedback. So apparently you didn't learn much yesterday, but today, if you've learned, I'm not closing it yet. We'll still be here till around noon, unless we hit the mid gap. Once it hits that, I'm probably going to close because I am fasted and I want to grab something to eat with my wife because she's giving me the hairy eye. The the hairy eye is something that I can see it in her face, like she's getting impatient, even though she knows that I scheduled this today and yesterday and Monday. She's wanting to go do something. So, men, you know what I'm talking about. You know that look your wife gives you. But today, when you see these things, look, let me make it plain, okay? When I go out on live streams, okay, and I have an agenda to troll, to make light of something and bait people to do something, try to get them to come in the Robins Cup because they think I can't trade, and they still won't even enter it. They still won't trade in it. They won't do it. He doesn't talk about Robins Cup. I'm talking about Robins Cup today, baby. I'm talking about that. I'm winning that shit. I am going to win that. I don't know why you guys are sitting here pretending like I forgot about it. I didn't forget about it. I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. I told you you'll see me in the second half of the year, but you're going to see me in that number one spot. Tay Sweet, enjoy your spot right now, gentlemen. Enjoy it. Hold on to those seats because I'm going to part the Red Sea and I'm running to the top of that motherfucker, and none of you are going to be near me. None of you are going to be near me. So get your sound bites out of that because that's what's coming. But today, I'm explaining things to you that would otherwise be like a charter level. This is charter level content. People that have gone through the entirety of mentorship, secured their lifetime access. This is the conversations that I would have with them when I'm explaining the difficult things and how to weigh all that stuff out. Okay? It's not easy to navigate these types of days. It's not. It's not easy at all. But it looks easy when it's done. And you forget the 30 plus years that it took to get here. And you don't want to take 30 years to get this good. You want to have it real quick because you watched a 5-minute trainer video, or you want to hear it without me talking about other things that I feel like I got to talk about because my mind's going 1,000 miles an hour. And there's 15 conversations that I'm having with myself inside while I'm talking to you. And they're all fighting to get to the front of the line to talk to you about whatever it is I'm thinking is important. Right now, you are looking at price and you have 1,000 questions. Why is it not doing this? Why is it doing that? You need to use your journal for that. You want immediate gratification, instant gratification. And you want all your questions answered right now. And that's not what trading is going to provide for you. No matter how many times you jump to a new mentor or a new methodology or someone that says they know it better or they can teach it to you faster, I promise you they won't be able to describe what you just saw here today. They don't have it. They do not have that. They're going to look for other shit. They're going to make up excuses of why, it's just don't trade that day. When I'm not saying you shouldn't trade it, you shouldn't try to trade it in the beginning. because you're not going to understand the give and take that's required when these days are forming. There's a whole lot of reluctance on price because it doesn't have to do it right now. It can stay in the range that's formed right here and chop all the way in and through lunch and do nothing else. But what happens if you're in here with your 15 contracts short right after the open? Are you confident where it's at right now? When any little spike up can take your stop and your funded account is no longer sweet and sitting like it was when you were initially given it, or your live account that had real nice profits when they were down here and it felt like it was going to fall to the depths of hell, could never retrace, couldn't do it. Or the guys that faded me and thought that that was something to go short on so they can go on social media later on. I faded ICT. You're not seeing anybody do that today, are they? I'll be looking for it. The role of a market maker is to give just enough to make them want to bite. Just enough to let them initiate action. And once they step their ass in the deep water, I devour them. And they're smart enough to know to not come off the fucking beach. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, friends. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They have their livelihoods at stake. They don't want to mar that. They have their mentorships. They have their horse shit they're trying to sell. They ain't trying to do nothing like that. But I do absolutely have a great deal of respect for all the gentlemen that are on that leaderboard right now because they did it. They did it, and they're grinding it out. And not all of them have done well. The guy that's in fifth place, at least should be. I haven't looked at it this morning. The guy in fifth place, he's pretty much, he got up there, and he's just sitting still. he's just ready to do anything. He's like, what the fuck? I don't want to do nothing. Hopefully, everybody else will fall down below me. And you can't do that when you're below 100%. Like if you get like 300%, that's a pretty good idea because most people don't do well enough to get that high. They'll get real hard efforts to get above 100%, maybe 200%, and then the pressure of the guys below them chomping at their ass, they feel like they got to get a wide range gap, and you don't. I've watched guys get up there and get to the second highest ever held, 1,300% plus. And if he just would have sat still, it was secured. It was done. It was done. And he completely dropped all the way down to some, not all that terribly exciting return. It's a head game. That's why I tell everybody, if you're going to compete against me, you're going to compete there. Everybody's going to see what it's like for you if you secure a seat there. When you slip a little bit, that little slip is going to be magnified beyond normal ranges of, reasonable comforts or discomforts. If you take a loss in your trading account and nobody sees it, it sucks. But if you have 1% drawdown in the witness of the entire world, you're like, shit, I got to come back from that because they just watched me come down. That's why nobody wants to do it. And that's why the gentlemen that are in it deserve your respect because they have mine. Whether they were up there and fell off, you still have mine. You did it. You entered it. 99.9999% of the bullshit talkers out there won't even enter it. Won't even enter it, let alone trade in it and do well and at least make themselves known. So stop leaving comments in my videos. All you jacklegs are going to see me in the leader spot. I'm going to have that pewter shit they give out as a trophy. I'm going to have that. Then what will they say? What are they going to say then? I don't know. They'll come up with something. They always do. So anyway, let's take a peek at ES. Nasdaq's better. And I did not have S&P on any charts in front of me. What you saw in this live stream is all I'm looking at as I'm looking at. So when I minimize the charts, when I do something like that, that's the only time I saw the other markets. So it wasn't like I was seeing something and then had the advantages of looking at other time frames. This is literally all I have. I'm literally on a, what is this? Hewlett Packard laptop. That's what I'm on. Sitting on one of the sofas in my morning room with Bose headsets on with no sound coming through it, just muting out all the outside sound. No music, just sitting here talking to you over one chart at a time. And anytime I toggled to a different time frame or I showed this, that's what I was using. So I didn't have like all of my weapons. I didn't have all of my tools. I didn't use anything Enigma. I didn't use anything automated, nothing. It was just pure reading price action, knowing what typically can happen, how human nature being what it is, and how the retail traders are going to want to come in and they're going to want to be short. They're going to want to do that. They went below this low, and that looks like what? It's straight shot to hell, go below there. No, not after a big, large range down day. You have to anticipate the market creating a bait and switch where they lay down the cheese. Yeah, come on, you're going to make money. Look, it's already moved down 10 handles. Come on, get more friends. Talk about it on social media so everybody thinks the same thing. Oh, I'm going to get short too. Get short, get short. And then this happens. All that retracement that they can't weather that. They can't suffer that and not puke up their guts or blow out. So all these things that we covered today is how, by not knowing it, I hurt myself as a 20-year-old. There's sell side. I don't want to come back for that. It's also an imbalance. So you have two factors there. Whether it wants to keep going lower or if it retraces just to get some more seats, this is what they're reaching for. That's 10 handles. Those types of moves on a 1 minute chart, 30-second chart, 15-second chart, those are the moves that happen all day long. That once you understand what you're looking for and once it reaches an objective and it's reasonable to anticipate it to drop lower after it's been rallying, you can short that. And then when it goes to its first logical level, like I just outlined here, you take your 10 handles and you're done. Or if it's the S&P, you take your 5 handles and be done. Close that trade. And then you can look for another opportunity in either that market or a closely correlated market. There's some days where I've went long in S&P only and went short in NASDAQ when the trades were, moving in sync like it just did there. And there's other days where I've done buying and selling, riding 10 handle, 15 handle, 20 handle runs on sub 1 minute charts. And I'm doing up, down, up, down, up, down. And I did it in Forex. I've done it in bonds. I've done it in futures. I have a recording that I did where I think, I don't know what the title is. I can't remember. It's something like when I have to pull out my heavy artillery. When I'm literally dialed in and I know exactly what I'm working with that day, that week, and I can buy and sell up, down, and just go nuts. And it really looks too good to be true for someone that's never seen me trade before, never seen me explain price action live and explain that we can see these things. They can't hide it from you. And unfortunately, whenever I do stunts in the past that make people second guess me, because it allows talking points. When people talk, what does it do? It brings people to my channel. It's traffic. I'm manipulating, controlling trolls. They think that they're doing something to me. They're making all these bullshit documentaries that absolutely mean nothing. It means nothing. But it creates traffic. So they work for me for free. And all the chatter, all the talking points brings people to my YouTube channel. And sometimes, majority of the times, it brings people that are never really aware of who I am. And they, who's this ICT guy? And usually it's, oh, he's a scammer. He's a guy that didn't put the minus symbol next to his withdrawal request. But what I was doing was I was trolling Sean Powell of Astro Effects and making a mockery of that was his proof that he could trade well. Screenshots of MT4. And they ran with that for a long time. It still has some traction still. But all these things that people that get introduced because of hearsay and whatnot, that brings them here because they want to see a train crash. They want to see a car crash. They want to see someone getting wrecked. And when they come here, they see me call the market. They see me tell you what the market's going to do. They find out that I have profitable students, and they find out that my mentorship that I used to sell for personal profit, it's for free on my YouTube channel. And then now I have them as a student. So I appreciate all the hard work. Keep working your corner, girls. Keep working your corner because you're all good earners for me. You're wonderful earners. You're doing me such a wonderful favor, and I don't have to pay you. I don't have to do anything for you except for keep throwing pieces of meat at you. Lay down some cheese so that way you'll talk about me and more people come. Think about it. I'm in control. I'm calling the shots here. Everything that I'm doing is all scheduled. It's all manipulation to get the attention. When I want to do it, I'm going to do it. But I got plenty of time. Plenty of time. There ain't nobody in that Robbins Cup right now that is ever going to come close to what I'm going to do. And M7, why aren't you up there? I heard you quit. Why'd you do that? You got more expectation placed on you because you appeared in the second or third spot, even though it was, some kind of calculation problem. I was hoping to see you up there. I was going to run your ass down. Just like Benny, who apparently can't get in the trade because he's talked too much shit about him and brought on legal trouble for him. So they won't allow him to enter, which was exactly what he wanted. Oops. And I'm not the only one that knows that. I had conversations with Joel Robbins. All that stuff's going to come out at the end of the year, too. I told him to tell anybody what they want to know because it's been bait all this time. I want you all to feel good. I feel strong. Oh, he's not going to do it. Exactly what I want. I told you in the beginning, I'm going to get every part of my crowd and audience something to feel good about. You're all going to have an experience this year, but I'm going to have a championship. And then I'm going to tip my hat and say farewell and adieu. Enjoy the YouTube. I don't give a fuck if you come back to it. I'm not making anything else for it. And I'm doing my own thing. Because shit's about to get real everywhere, not just in America, everywhere. And my attention is going to be there. And I will feel like I have cleaned my conscience and done the best I could have done to give you the skill set to try to do whatever you can to stay above what's coming. It doesn't mean you're going to get rich, but if it puts food on your table, then praise the Lord. That dollar index, I would like to see that still today traverse all this range here and go up into that old high. If it doesn't, say it goes up there. Let me maximize that chart for a second. If it goes up there and say it fails at this right here, say it goes there and fails. and leaves that as a relative equal high, I would expect that to be the non-farm payroll target, or to reach for that on Friday. In other words, if they leave that buy side, leaving it there, and they could bounce around, do whatever, even retrace lower, I think that they will use that for non-farm payroll. That would be the objective for Friday. And so that way I got that out of the way. I told you I would explain to you what I think would be the play for, excuse me, for me on non-farm payroll. So a couple minutes after an 8:30 news release on Friday, when they do non-farm, after that initial whipsaw, if that was still there for dollar, I would use that as a factor. And then obviously, you know what that means. If it's going to run that on the dollar, that means it's probably going to be risk off and shorts for index futures. But all that can be, completely destroyed today, where this dollar index could just fall out of bed and they could reprice the indices, completely overlap yesterday's down move entirely and go higher. That's the fierceness, the veracity of the volatility these individual days, especially rate announcement days, FOMC, like it can just absolutely go way beyond what you think is reasonable and just keep going. And you can't fade that kind of stuff. Just keeps going. And then when it opens up again at 6 o'clock, it's still going. And it's hundreds and hundreds of handles. And if you're in that on the wrong side, like you're ran over. You can't undo that. It's a lot of carnage and damage. See how smooth that is? And it went down here, but look how they left that too. I don't like that. So they have some business to probably attend to below here. Here and here. Going down a little bit to clean that up. And then if it can reject that and go higher, I'd like to see that high taken out in that buy side we were watching yesterday and the day before for dollar. 15 minutes, go to a daily. Bitcoin came to mind. Oh shit. Oh shit. Virginia. I was watching this guy on what was it, YouTube? What's his name again? I've periodically looked at him over the years. He's one of those conspiracy guys that always talks about something after it starts. What is it, man? He's got this thing with crypto and Bitcoin. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But he said, that's the low. That's the low. Well, apparently that's the low now. This looks real smooth, don't it? Don't that look real smooth? Even if this thing does want to go to 1 million like you think it will, it's not. This is a pretty good run down there, knock out some people. Like if I was making Bitcoin, if I was making the market for this, I would run it all the way down there and take out 50,500, 50,250, and then send it up here if I was going to drive it there. But I think we're going to see some heartbreak in this. It's unfortunate. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I really am not. But yeah, nothing's going to be exempt from what's coming, bro. It's not good. Crude oil. Let's take a quick look at that one. Alrighty. Relative equal highs. That's brilliant. Just like these in here. All it takes is a skirmish, and Passover is now done for the Jews. So I expect, whether by proxy or inline direct, it's going to kick up again. and then we'll see crude oil over $175 a barrel. Not right away, but we'll see it. We'll see it. So if you got 8-cylinder cars like me, you better expect to be paying more money for gas if we're even going to get gas. Like in the 70s, there was an embargo. You young guys don't know anything about that. I remember seeing lines of cars down the road, and you could only get a few gallons, and that was it. And people were fighting, getting stabbed, and shot all up. It was nuts. What was this? Coco. Let's see. I think she's retraced some. Yeah. But isn't that much prettier than Bitcoin? Tastes better too. So that's sexual chocolate. I wouldn't have been able to get away with that if my wife was in here. I had to toss that in because she's out there on the deck. And YM, we'll take a quick look at that one. I think that'll probably bring our time together to a close. Yeah, I hate this indice right here. Like, I hate it. It's like the Swiss franc of Forex for me. Well, no. Swissy I can tolerate more than the yen. Yen, I loathe the yen. And they're getting smashed right now. Yep. For the folks earlier that were listening to me say, can you talk more about institutional order flow entry drill? And I did mention it. What is an institutional order flow entry drill? It's this right here. The gap is this candle's low, that candle's high. Midpoint or consequent encouragement doesn't get touched. That's here. There are times, and this is where you want to write this stuff down, folks. There are times when you have a fair value gap form, and where it is in relationship to the present market structure, and I'm going to explain that in a second, where it's advantageous for you to anticipate and expect it to not even trade halfway. And if it's going to do that, it's going to dip inside of the gap and go just below the candle that frames the fair value gap's high by 1 pip, tick, whatever, the smallest fluctuation. That's all it requires. So the easiest way for you to be in sync, to look and capitalize, jump on a entry, whether it be a fair value gap or a institutional order flow entry. In the beginning, you're going to wrestle with knowing when one is and when it's not a institutional order flow entry drill. Sometimes you'll think it's an institutional order flow entry drill, and then it'll close the gap entirely. And because of what I've taught, and because you want it to not close, it'll make you nervous because you're probably going to be over leveraged, taking larger size trades, bigger than you should have for that trade. And it's going to invite all of this excitement that would otherwise not be there if you simply traded with the smallest of leverage until you learn how to trade well. The way you do it is you simply use the low of the candle. That's your limit order. So that way it only requires that 1 tick into the fair value gap. If you start training yourself to use that for your fair value gap entry point, and then using the low of the body over here, that's your risk. Well, that's a lot. Okay, it might be a lot, but there's micro contracts out there. There's no necessity because your funded account company wants you to blow your account so they can make money, because that's how they make money. I'm going to be real honest with you. Give me a second here, because I got to get this off my fucking chest. This is exactly what Forex was like. Okay, this is exactly what Forex was like in around 2006 when I made the transition from predominantly just commodities and futures, and I was just dabbling in Forex a little bit. I always traded currency futures, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to abandon commodities and just dive on in to just Forex. And there were times where brokers were like, look, you can't get in and get out. Like, you got to hold it. You can't be getting in and getting out. And that created a problem. And then we had all these issues where people were getting defrauded and not seeing their stop loss honored. And for people like me who recorded my screens, um, you know, you had evidence to prove that you had this, and it didn't fill. But other brokers were able to fill at those orders, so it proved, you know, that was not good business, and they were cannibalizing their own customers in their own liquidity pool. So all those factors led to the eventual regulation by the CFTC, which was absolutely needed and welcomed. Okay. Right now, all these funded account companies, you've seen some of them fail. Some of them said, okay, we're going to stop for a little while. And others have been already tagged by the CFTC and smashed. Some of them are coming out now and saying, well, you can't get in and get out because it's not profitable for us. Well, there is the underlying issue. And regulators now, because it's been expressed in that same tone, watch and see exactly what I told you last summer in Twitter Spaces. This venue that you have right now, these funded account companies, they are going to be gone. They're going to be gone. Okay. They're their own little Ponzi scheme. And granted, the majority of people don't know how to trade. They don't know how to manage money. They overtrade, they over leverage, and they're reckless and they're gamblers. And that's their business model. Okay. If you were not trading demo and you were trading with real money, even when they're funded accounts, any fees that they ask for could be taken right out of that account. Just like a real brokerage firm, when you have to pay for fees and commissions, they don't ask you to pay by a credit card. It comes right out of the account. So now I know right away by saying this, you're all like, fuck, he's calling the end of the whole. Well, it probably may take a little bit of time, but it's going to be gone. And it's going to be met with regulation first, preferably. But here's the problem with that. You're asking the governing body, the cowboy police of the commodity markets and futures in Forex, to just turn the cheek, to let this industry make millions and millions of dollars and have pretty much free reign to do whatever they want to do, how they want to do it. You can't get in and get out of the trade where you're scalping, these micro scalping techniques, because it's not profitable for us. See, brokers in the markets used to try to do that too until they said you can't do that. So their only combat was, well, we'll just start fucking with your fills. We'll requote you. And that's how they do it. Oh, you requoted me? The time it takes for you to sit there and say, all right, give me a requote. All right, give me a requote. And they keep doing it. That was their answer. And then eventually, regulation kicked in even more. And now, the better businesses, the upstanding firms, but all brokerages suck. Don't get me wrong. All of them have something wrong. There's no perfect broker. And you're always going to hear horror stories. And every brokerage firm I ever traded with has done something that I either frowned upon or didn't like. Now, is it worth me going out on a soapbox and tell you the names of the companies and what they did specifically? No. It doesn't serve a purpose. I sound like a sorry loser to do that. But I say that because there's a lot of things that brokerage firms get as far as flack that it's unwarranted, because it's usually just people that don't know how to fucking trade. They had no business being in there, and they want to fault the broker like they did it to them. They may have booked you, but if you're wrong, you deserve to lose your money anyway. You would have lost it to someone else in the marketplace. But these funded accounts, those orders are not going into the marketplace. They're not. And you're playing a game with them if you really know how to trade. You literally, as a community, could shut them all down. And the more people that learn how to trade and trade well, it's getting harder for them to have that margin of profitability. And when a handful of guys or gals go in there and they know what they're doing. You see it with casinos. They don't let card counters in. And if you start getting wildly profitable, they're going to look for some bullshit to say, you're breaking rules. You can't be here. It's not profitable for us to get. So basically, you're asking to have a bullseye placed on you for the regulators because that's exactly what you're going to do. And it's going to snowball. In every firm, they can talk their bullshit to save face all they want, but it's eventually going to steamroll over every single one of them. Now, that's not an invitation for you to get out there and say, well, now you just told me I have to do it real quick. No, don't do it quick. Don't do it quick. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I just know it's going to happen. And with everything else that's coming, us that trade in real brokerage firms with real money, you think they're just going to sit back and let us do what we want to do too? Fuck no. Biden's talking about a 44% capital gains tax. And guess what? He's talking about taxing unrealized gains. Who the hell mentioned that a year and a half ago? It's like time traveling to me. It's what they're going to do. Now, you might say, well, they're not going to pass that. Yeah, just like they said they weren't going to pass Obamacare. Just like they said they weren't going to pass these bullshit bills. They can't do that. It's one party, one bird, two wings of the same thing. And you can deny it all you want, but this last bastion of freedom and enterprise and making money that we call trading, they're going to be in this thing too, messing it all up. And what's the surest way of messing it all up? Manipulation and causing ridiculous price moves and claiming liquidity problems. There's never a liquidity problem. There's always somebody out there wanting to trade. Always someone out there with more information than you. That's just the excuse. That's the excuse. And well, it's plausible. So therefore, we got to eat it and believe it. And anybody goes against that, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a scammer. You're a fraud. You're, somebody that shouldn't be listened to. I'm batting 1,000, folks. Everything I've said that's supposed to happen, it's coming. Your Bitcoin will be zero. I promise you that. It will be fucking zero. Every cryptocurrency, zero. But their central bank digital currency, that won't be zero. That's what's coming. Your Bitcoin was a Trojan horse. And a lot of you bit it hook, line, and sinker. But all of us that are trading real markets, we're going to have the shit end of the stick too. And they're going to make it hard. And it could present an opportunity for them to take away, maybe for a short period of time or indefinitely, our ability to do this. And they may make it only for institutions to do it. Because think about it. If they're going to have a central bank digital currency, that means they have a currency that expires. It has an expiration date. That means if you don't spend it, it's no longer useful. It means it's a credit. It's not a currency. It's a credit that can be discontinued when they say so. And what are you going to have an alternative to do? Nothing. Because cash is going to be outlawed. They're going to take it away. Oh, well, I'm going to use cash. Yeah, well, there's going to be barter systems, and that's fine. That's always going to be a black market. But you won't be able to have a home. You're going to lose your home. I'm ready to lose my shit. I'm ready. I don't care. I'm not tied to this world where if I don't have the monetary things I have, I'm going to lose my shit. I don't want to be here. I want to be with the Lord. I'm ready for it. Everything around you is pointing to that. If you can't see it, you're blind. But if you don't have the central bank digital currency to pay your property tax on the house that you own, but you got to pay the government rent every year, or they'll take it from you. If you don't have the central bank digital currency to pay those property taxes, well, they already have the system in place. They take your property. Insurances, car insurance. A lot of people don't know it, but really that's a government-sponsored program. The agencies only get a small piece of it. You have to have car insurance. You can't legally drive your vehicles unless you pay for car insurance. If you don't have the central bank digital currency, you can't get car insurance. If you can't do that, you can't get the tag to drive that electric car they want everybody to have, which can be turned off by Wi-Fi if you ain't doing what you're supposed to do on social media. If you're doing something like I'm doing right now, they turn your shit off. Does it sound like I'm worried about ad revenue right now? No, I'm not worried about ad revenue. I ain't worried about none of that shit. None of that stuff. I'm not worried about it. You're not going to stop it. It's coming. Trump ain't going to change it. And we're not going to have a normal election. And if you can't see everything building up and building up and building up, and we're going to have a shitstorm in these markets. Midsummer to fall, it's going to be absolutely insane. Clown town. It's going to be nuts. Nuts. And I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. But you came here to watch and learn about order blocks, so I shouldn't talk about that other stuff. Robin's Cup. Like that's a fucking challenge. All right, so we're looking at relative equal lows here. So going into the afternoon session, this is what you should be mindful of, okay? Key levels right here. They left that beautifully. So lunch macro, the usual MO is to see them run any liquidity that has been left in the morning session during the lunch hour and then resume the existing direction or trend. You don't want to think that on FOMC morning or going into the lunch hour, okay? What you want to look for is like bookends or kind of like the ceiling and the floor. What's the best, I guess, near term? I guess that's the best word to use for it. The best near term buy side, that's here. And the sell side is here, okay? And you want to just have these on your chart. Why am I doing it now? It could change, right? It doesn't matter because right now we are in the lunch window. At 11:30 starts New York lunch. For me personally, it's 11:30 to 1:30. So it's not an hour long, it's 2 hours. So I want to define where the parameters are for buy side liquidity, buy stops, where that is, and where the sell stops are. Even if, because of the day that we're in, this is FOMC, if it wasn't FOMC, it would not be used once and then used later on again. Where FOMC, it can. Think about like what I teach you with the fair value gap. When it closes it in, we're not done with it. We don't discard it and throw it out and say, okay, well, that's one and done. It's over with. There's no more need for it because now it's been rebalanced. That's not rebalanced. That's just repriced. It can use those same specific price points in the future throughout the day and as long as a week, 5 days. Then I'm no longer interested in it. Well, that's a lot of fair value gaps. Right. If you're going to put every single one of them on there without any framework or any context or any narrative behind why you're even using them. Oh, this is too complicated. I'm going to go watch somebody with indicators. Go do that. If they know how to manage money well, they probably will teach you how to be profitable. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. If you manage risk, you can flip a quarter and make money. I am just different. Like I want to know what I expect to see in price, and I want to see it do it more times than not. Then I can trust it. And I have a belief that I can transfer this information and understanding to other people, and I've proven it because they're doing it without me telling them what to do, and they're making money using the logic that I've made available on this YouTube channel for free. You should not be buying anything ICT from anybody else because it's right here. I promise you, it's right here. There's nothing extra that you need to pay for, and nobody's going to explain anything better than what you're getting it right here. It's just a lot of content, and you can't get around it. So that's the business for NASDAQ. And I think, yeah, at 2 o'clock, leading into 2 o'clock, the first run, remember, that's usually the fake move. That's usually the fake move. And then at 2:30, when they start the conference, Powell is a little bit like me. Okay, we share some DNA in a lot of ways. He likes to talk, and I love to inform and teach. Okay, so it used to be other Fed chairmen. It wouldn't be so long-winded, and you're like, okay, well, this is what she or he's saying, and it's right, quite quick to the point. And you can figure out what it is that they're going to try to do, and watch price action do it. He tends to go on a little bit. So why I never listen to him, I don't never listen to any of the Fed chairmen. I don't care what they say, because really, it's whatever they say. The guys that really run the show are going to do what they want to do. They're not doing in price action what Fed Chair Powell or any other Fed chair wants to do. They're not running the market. They're just the Muppet. And the people that really run the show have their hand up their ass and make them say what they want them to say. He's saying a script. And you don't believe that's a script? Listen to the sound bites of the speeches that he gives. They're usually the same fucking speech, almost verbatim. With all the things going on in the world, in the US, all the money that's being thrown away, you would think he had something different to say, and what the solution might be. But it's the same stuff. But they bank on the fact that you have short attention span, TikTok mentality, and you're not going to go back and listen to what they said the previous time. That's why I don't need to listen to it, because it's all scripted nonsense. None of the things they're saying has any bearing on what price is going to do, period. Because the price is going to do what the market makers are going to do. The central banks run everything. They run everything. Everything. Everything you buy off the shelves at the grocery store, they own that. Every conglomerate is part of a larger umbrella that they own. That's the world you live in. And if it's that controlled, that means it's rigged. If it's rigged, that means it has repeating phenomena, because it would not be effective to lure people in if it was completely always 100% random carnage all the time, which is exactly what real buying and selling pressure would create if that's exactly what the fuck was going on. And that doesn't happen, folks. We could crash these markets, or we could send them to the moon in any given day. But it doesn't happen. But when they want things to crash, they crash them. And you're watching that controlled demolition right now. And for years it's been going on. So, on that warm and fuzzy note, this guy's evil. He's talking all this nonsense and he's happy. I'm happy because I am not of this world. I'm just passing through. And it's not my home. So I can look at this world and see it for what it is, and not be tethered to it and chained to it. And I need to have my wealth. I need to have my homes. I need to have my cars. I need to have my toys. No, I don't. I got a treasure inside me that's worth more than all that stuff. It's worth more than any accolades you guys can give me on the internet and lift me up and treat me as a hero. It's all bullshit. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. You don't worship anybody. No man, no woman, none of these people out here. No public figure, no trader that does well, pretends to do well, teaches something special, has a specific product. There are no demigods. There are no goats. There are no heroes. And I'm the highest on that list that is not any of that. And that's the truth. That's the reality. You have to be the person you trust while looking at these charts. You have to be the person that you rely on, because nobody else is pushing that button but you. And the outcome and the results are all yours. And if it's pain that you brought on yourself, suck it up, buttercup. And when it's sweet victory, sip it. Make it last longer. You don't need to splash it in everybody's face, but just sit back. Relish the idea that you could be a jerk and go out there and show everybody. But it's so much sweeter when you're sitting in your own house and the whole world thinks that you wasted your time. You'll never arrive. You'll never get it. And you're living it. Now, albeit, how long will you be able to enjoy it? I don't know. I don't know. Will it be sudden and we have all kinds of problems where we can't do these things? Maybe. But wasting time worrying about, because I saw a guy leave a comment. He goes, I hear you talking about all this stuff, ICT, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to close. If you don't want to hear this stuff, you can close because the trading part's done. The guy says, if you're saying all this stuff's going to happen, why should I take any time to learn your stuff or even worry about trading? Because nobody knows how long it will last until you can't do it. So you're just going to just not do it at all. If it's something that you're working towards to help provide for you and your family, feed yourself, well, how's that a losing proposition? Like that's an insurance policy. Like you're working towards something that may not, trading isn't profitable for everybody. I mean, you could spend a lot of time trying to do something and it not work for you, but still have a lot of time working towards doing it because it's a hobby, right? Not everybody can be a basketball player on the NBA. Not everybody can be a NASCAR driver, but you could be an enthusiast and be a part of it. But what happens if you do try and it puts a little bit of paper in your pocket? It allows you to pay for your gas. And if that's all it is, gas is getting ready to go up a lot. That's a big burden off of you. If you have children, knowing that you can afford a little bit more for groceries because you can go without eating. I know I could go without eating for one meal a day, skip a day, one meal a day, skip a day to make sure my family ate, and I could do that. A parent, a father, a mother, they're willing to do those types of things, but you would never let your children do that. You'll rob, steal, and kill for your kids, and that's understandable. Any parent would. So if you're saying why bother if you have children, I don't understand that question. Because if I wasn't in the situation I am, and I'm blessed, like I am blessed, but I also know that I'm holding on to this world with very, very open hands. I don't care what this world becomes. It's doomed. All this Green Deal stuff, the Lord said He's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. This thing's going away. He's going to make a new one. So why are we worrying about protecting it? That's not to say that you should go out there and just tear it all up intentionally, but all these ideas, they're all flawed. They're trying to promote the idea there is no creator. There is a creator, and we're all, you know, accountable to him. Whether you like it or not, you're all going to meet him. But to have no interest at all on trying to see if you can better yourself, and it doesn't cost you anything. Like I'm not charging any money to sit down and study these things. And you don't have to watch my videos from YouTube where I get ad revenue. I've already told you, download them. I don't care. I don't need that money. I don't need it. What YouTuber would be out there telling you, don't watch my videos, just download them? Nobody's going to talk to you like that. They want you to keep coming back. How many videos have I been making recently? I'm not interested in that. I certainly could have used it as a distraction with all the things that was going on with my mother-in-law, but I don't need the money. But all of you may not be in that same situation or that circumstance in life where maybe you do feel the pinch and everything's extremely expensive right now. And maybe some of you are scared. I get emails from people all around the world saying, wow, the things you said, I thought you were a crackpot. And now literally all these things are happening and I didn't prepare. I didn't do anything. I didn't even learn how to trade and I'm starting to panic. Well, that was the reason why I told you these things. So that way you wouldn't end up in that situation where you are panicking and you have little time, little resources available. A lot of you listening to me were there in Twitter when I was doing Twitter Spaces. Look around. Do you think America's the America that everybody knows? It's not. And it's not going to be at all resembling what it was created to be. Trump's not going to change anything. Nobody's going to come here and fix it for you in politics. It's going to get expensive. It's going to get uncomfortable. Things are going to be hard to get. And it's going to be extremely expensive for everything. And having the kind of money I have doesn't exempt me from all those things. It doesn't exempt me from any of that. I have to take care of family members and friends because they can't do it. And it hurts because they do everything that they're supposed to do. They go to work, they save money how they can, they don't live above their means, and they still can't make it. And they're ashamed when I have to give them help. And I feel uncomfortable because they feel ashamed. And it's like, I want to do more. And they're telling me, I don't want what you have, but if I don't take it, I don't have it. There's a lot of people that come to me and they expect some kind of magic thing to happen real quick for them. And I'm telling you, in Jesus' name, I wish I had a fast fix for it because I would give it. But it takes time. It takes time and effort. And it's hard right now. These markets are not easy. They're very, very hard. And it might get harder before the end of the year. Nothing's promised. What I believe in my faith about how the markets may present certain opportunities, I might be wrong. We might have something happen. What happens if a bomb literally is dropped in Chicago and in New York? Who's trading in? What happens if a bomb's dropped in London, Chicago, and New York? What do you think that's going to do? You think you're going to be able to get out of your trade you held overnight? You think they're going to get right back to the swing of things in a couple days? A week or two? Listen to the language they're using, the things that they're discussing. They can't scare us anymore with COVID. They can't scare us anymore with, silly stuff. What's coming is going to scare everybody. You see a mushroom cloud in any part of any country, immediately palms are going to start sweating. And that's what they want. They're not trying to nuke the entire world. But I'm telling you, one of them is coming. And it will be in mainland. US, we're going to, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. They're telegraphing it. They're preparing you for it. You ever seen the Fallout series they put on Amazon? I like playing the game, by the way. The opening scene, you see all the mushroom clouds pop, 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 pop. It's interesting. It's timely. Right when COVID began, they had all the Contagious movies on Netflix. They were priming you. So that way, when one of them, it need not do a maximum amount of damage, but guess what happens? When you drop one, they got it in everybody's head that the fallout, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't see it. Stay in your house. You're going to stay in your fucking house. If it happens in your general vicinity, you're going to stay in your house. They want control. And then they're going to go right back to what they did in September 11th, 2001. They're going to have communications on your TV and on your phone. Okay, we're at terror level red. And I had anxiety out the ass then because I was afraid for me and my family. I had kids. I was scared for them. And that's what they want because fear controls. I'm not afraid. If you're going to drop a bomb, just drop it right here in Fallston, Maryland, and let me just go out with a suntan because I ain't worried about it. I don't lose sleep over it. I ain't worried about it. They can drop bombs all over the place. It's terrible that people are going to die, but we're not going to stop it. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not living in fear of that stuff. But all these things, while you may not feel that they're convenient to listen to or have anything to do with you because maybe you live in a different part of the world, that it does somehow impact you, it will. Especially if you're trying to trade. Everyone listening to me right now, we're all connected with a common interest in the markets. And everything that they're doing right now, the rhetoric, the things that they're talking about, the way they're throwing money around. They have billions and billions of dollars to give to another country who is literally stealing the money and buying mansions all around the world and supporting the closure and denying a border access of their country and paying pensions for people running businesses in that country. But they're letting our country circle the toilet, getting ready to get flushed. How's that make you feel? How's that make you feel as an American? See, Democrats are waking up to that shit too. They're like, this is dumb. Like, what's going on here? Right. That's what I've been talking about since 2016. Spring of 2016. Trump's not your answer, folks. He's not. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, Christ is, obviously, but apart from him, nothing's getting fixed. We're too far out in left field for any person with a sane mind and have any position in this world right now that's going to be able to fix it. But there's somebody coming that's going to pretend that he does. And for a little while, a lot of you might be here and believe it. I told you there's going to be some science fiction level stuff coming. We saw aliens. They even brought out little alien bodies. You see that? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. But that's all priming. That's all priming. That's going to be the perfect excuse for the harpazo when everybody's trying to figure out where their loved ones are. And that's the excuse. Well, that's what that we saw all that happening. That's what it is. They're making perfect little storylines to excuse how all this happens. And then they're going to be able to scare you to stay indoors. Don't riot. Don't protest. Don't do anything to disrupt everything while we're doing what we're doing. And that's just the way it works. That's the way it is. You can't stop it. Your Second Amendment right ain't going to help you fix it either. I'm a registered gun owner, and I'm telling you, that ain't going to fix it either. That's what they want you to do. They want you to act up. They want you to go out there. They want people so pissed off. They want these kids at these colleges that are being paid to do that stuff. They don't even know what the hell they're protesting. Ask them. They're quiet. You think that they're being rebellious by not saying anything. They don't know what they're doing it for. They just know they're getting paid to do it. And that's going to ramp up more and more and more and more. And this summer is going to be nuts. And you think that's not going to have an impact on the markets? It will. Absolutely will. The guys that were in my mentorship that quit when I started telling everybody what was going to happen in 2020. Oh man, you're nuts. They're not going to shut down the economy. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. And I said, all these things are going to impact the market. Nope. I'm out of here. See you later. Every single one of them are looking at the same thing around the world, just like you and I are. And many of them begged to get back into the mentorship. And I was just simply, no. Nope. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do you know all this stuff? How did you know all these things were going to happen like this? One, I know the book. I know that. I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I do know the book enough to know that if you're looking, you'll see it. And the same still quiet voice that guided me to understand all the things that you're learning from. I didn't know why I was talking to people on Twitter in 2016. Before I did a mentorship, I was tweeting stuff and warning about things even after I pressed the send button. I don't even know why I was doing it, but I felt like I had to do it. And I would tell my wife, I was like, I'm talking about things. I'm not a politician type person. Like, I'm not into politics. Like, I never had an interest in it. But everything I said, which I didn't understand why I was saying it then, but I could look back now and say, well, that wasn't guessing. And that wasn't me trying to pretend to be something I wasn't. It was literally me being used as a soundboard to put it out there. And I got the Chicken Little, memes made about me. Oh, this guy said this and said that. And then March 2020 came, and everything changed. And we watched the largest theft and wealth transfer that's ever existed. And they've constantly kept you distracted with every new thing while everybody forgot about what they did to everybody over the last 3 years and what they've hid. And people are in jail for things that the people that did it, they're just missing. You don't get to see them in court. You get a picture drawn of them. But we get to see Johnny Depp and Alex Jones' trial. We get to see that. So while this is my last live stream, I want you to think about, as we go into the summer, what you can do to keep you and your family safe and prepare for whatever it is that's coming. Hey, you know what? I would love nothing more, and I said this in 2016, I said this in 2019 in Twitter, I said something really bad's coming, worse than 9/11, and it's all about control. And in 2020, it was like high definition resolution. I knew exactly what they're doing. And they've been doing it lockstep, one piece at a time, falling into place. And I said it then, I'm going to say it here. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope all of you get to laugh at me. I'll laugh with you. But listen, what if it is like this and you're not doing anything to prepare for it? You can't imagine the level of stress and anxiety that you're going to have if you can't take care of your family. You got nothing. You got nothing to defend yourself when people start coming to your door because you might have something they can't get anymore. Food, clothing, resources, shelter. Listen, I would want nothing more than to leave you with my last live stream on a high note and be like, everything's Lamborghinis and champagne and caviar. It's going to be awesome. I told you when we were in Twitter Spaces. It's coming. Look around. Just look around, man. You can pretend it's not going to happen. You can pretend it's not real. Oh, it's this and it's that. You're going to have a different tune come midsummer. It's going to be a mess. And that will absolutely have a bearing on what these markets are doing and how people spend money, how much they have, what they're going to be able to do with it. And as soon as the central bank digital currency is pushed on you in every other country, you can't do anything off of the blockchain without it being recorded. You're going to have every transaction recorded. And some of you would probably think, well, I don't do anything wrong, so who cares? But what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do on social media? See, I'm leaving social media because I have a tendency to say what the fuck I want to say. And I know that I'm not going to be agreed with by some and maybe many of you. When I mentioned Christ in a post, okay, I was doing $30,000 a month in ad revenue, even when I wasn't putting anything up. That post I mentioned about Christ immediately took me down to only 40% ad revenue. But I had the same amount of views that were coming in. So I have all the analytics that tell me what it is. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not crybabying about it. I don't care. They can take the fucking ad revenue away from me. I don't care. I don't need it. I don't need that. I don't need it. I swear to you, I do not need that money. But I find it odd that at a time when everybody is taking shots at the Lord and they don't have any time to listen to anything about Him, and where some churches are kicking Bibles around like footballs and having male strippers dancing around, and they're treating things that are supposed to be holy in a manner that is, by every definition, that's the apostasy. That's apostasy. It's literally, we're in it. We're in that time. And if you have faith in Him, you're going to be persecuted. You're going to be vilified. You're going to be targeted. I don't care. I don't care, because I'm going to talk about Him anytime I can and every opportunity I can. I'm going to brag on Him because I have what I have because of Him. Everything I've been able to do and accomplish has come from Him. And I can't do anything apart from Him. And it's His anyway. So if He wants to take it from me, it's His to take. If He allows anyone else in the government to say, well, you don't have a right to talk about this anymore, we're going to take your YouTube down, we're going to take your monetization down, we're going to take your website down, and you're not going to, okay, whatever. I'm not going to shut up. I just won't be able to do your platform, but I ain't going to shut up. See, the science fiction stuff I talked about is right in that last book. That's what you're about to see soon. And some of you are going to be shocked. And money and trading is going to be the last thing on your list of to do. And you're going to be coming to grips with the levels of fear and anxiety and depression that you've never felt before. And it's going to happen fast and sudden. And when it starts, it will ramp up quicker and faster, and nobody will be able to see it coming. And no one's going to escape it. Unless you believe in Him, you have faith in Him, and you've asked Him to forgive you for your sin. You baptize in His name for the remission of sin, and you obey the gospel. You can't just say, I believe. You can't just say that. You got to believe it. You got to believe that God came in the flesh. You got to believe that He willfully died on the cross, that He allowed that body to die, and He resurrected it later. If you don't believe that, that's not believing in Him. But if you believe in Him like that, and you're constantly praying that you're kind of worthy to escape these things coming upon the earth, then you won't be here when it kicks off. So when I have told you that I'm retiring and I'm moving away from all this stuff, my heart's not in this anymore. I love teaching. Don't get me wrong. I love teaching. But this stuff brings out the ugly part of me. You hear how I talk when I'm talking about the markets. You hear it. That's ego. That's flesh. That's my pride. And I don't want that. Because I know He's coming soon. And I don't want to be sitting here one day talking about the market using language I'm not proud of. And to be ashamed. I don't want to be ashamed that He's coming. I don't want that. So I'm closing this chapter in my life this year. Inner Circle Trader is being retired. I am, not somebody else doing it. I'm doing it. Everything's scheduled. Because I want my attention on the things of God. I want to live more holy. I want to remove the things that are profane. And all this stuff, while it's fun and I love it, don't get me wrong, I love it. I love it. It's my whole life. But I'm willing to put it down for him. Early in my life, I wasn't ready to do that. In fact, I wouldn't have. I would have done everything I could to not do it. But I really, really want to. And for him, I won't miss it. Anything else, I would miss it. And I don't go to church. That's not what it's about. It's not going to a church. It's not about paying a pastor, pretending he's a Levite. Paying 10% of your wages, that's not biblical. Giving, yes, it is. But supporting these celebrity pastors, these mega churches, that's not biblical. But coming together with like-minded fellow believers, breaking bread with one another, that's biblical. That's the book of Acts. And you're going to be needing to do that if you are listening to me. Those of you that are Christian that like to send me emails and rebuke me and tell me I'm talking profanely, and I am, and I'm thankful that you do that because it makes it. But I would be doing more of it if you didn't. As soon as I say it, immediately I'm convicted by the Spirit, and I'm also convicted by the people that reach out and tell me, I love listening to you, but I wish you wouldn't say these types of words. I know. I wish I didn't do it either. I wish I wouldn't do it either. But sometimes my flesh rises up and I'm not strong enough to say no. And that's why I want to put this stuff down. For many of you, it don't make any sense to you. Some of you are convinced now I'm a crackpot, and that's fine. Good. I'll receive a reward for that. I'll be rewarded for all that. That's good. But I'm talking to you because I want you to do well so that way you can take care of someone else. Even if you don't believe how I believe, if I've convinced you to take something that you earned by doing what it is I teach you, and you bless somebody else, don't get me wrong, I'll get a reward for that. Yes, it helps somebody else, but I'm going to get a reward for that because I'm teaching you how to give biblically. Not 10% tithing, because that tithing stuff doesn't exist anymore. There's no Levitical priesthood. That stuff is not biblical. Anything that had anything to do with money is if you couldn't carry the tithe, it was always food and drink. That's what it was. It was food. If it was meaning money, then why did they tell you if you can't carry it all, sell it, take the money, and then when you arrive where you're going to go, buy everything that your heart desires and eat it before the Lord? But you don't hear pastors teach that. You don't hear churches teach that. And that's why I don't go to churches, because their businesses, they're like 7-Elevens now, personal profit. And Paul said basically this: we are not like those who peddle the word of God for profit. That's what you see in churches today. Write books, Pastor Olstein. World's changing, folks. That's all I'm saying. It's changing, and you need to either prepare to endure it or learn who to believe in. And I'm not the person to believe in. I'm not the one that should be lifted up as a hero and worshipped. I'm a sinful man. I make mistakes. Given the opportunity, I'll speak profanely, just like Peter. He messed up, denied him 3 times, cussing while he did it. In the last chapter in John, you see John give the event where Jesus basically redeemed him 3 times, asking, do you love me more than these? You know I love you. Walked a little bit more. Peter, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, you know I love you. And the 3rd time he asked him, it said it hurt him that he asked. That was his restoration for the 3 times he denied him. That's why when you read the Gospels, it talks about Go and tell the disciples and Peter, because he was not in good standing with Christ at that time. I take a lot of solace in Peter. Peter relied on his flesh a lot. He reacted, responsive, just like that. And then, I messed up. And I do that a lot when it comes to trading. I'm very knowledgeable about these markets, and I'm very prideful about it. And there ain't nobody out there better than me at it. And that's why I have to stop. Because when I do that, I'm bragging. And there's nothing wrong with bragging unless you're bragging about anything but God. And what I do is I stand in front of him and say, look at me. When the deal was, look at him. And sometimes I mix it up and mess it up and do things that is about me getting the credit. And I don't want the credit. I don't want ad revenue. I don't want my image to be any bigger than it is. It's uncomfortable. I just want you all to know that by me giving you this stuff, my interest was for you to do well. To do well, to make it better for your family, for your kids, provide for them better. Because it's hard. It's hard whether you went to college and you got a degree or not. Everything's expensive right now. And it's going to get even more expensive. And some of you, if I'm going to be honest, maybe most of you, probably won't ever taste success in this that's made available to everyone. I hope you do. It's my prayer that you do. But more importantly, I hope that you learn who Jesus Christ is. He's the Lord. He's God in the flesh. And for the Muslims that are friends and associates and students of mine, I know you don't like to hear me talk like that. And you, from your heart, you reach out to me and you try to tell me to read the Quran, and you tell me that Jesus wasn't God and he didn't claim to be God's son. And I can tell you, you have a time with me, I will take you to the scripture where he claims to be God. The things that I'm told by other people in other religions, I have an answer for all that stuff. You're never going to convince me to do anything apart from what I am right now. I'm a Christian. I believe in Christ. And I don't live Christ-like as a trader. And I don't want to be like that anymore. I'm willing to put it down. I want to. There are better Christians than I am that will be able to take this information and live doing it and not need to do the things that my flesh asks me to do sometimes, which is seek attention, seek credit, seek accolades, seek thanks, appreciation. I've done what I promised to do, that I would give it away, I would teach how to use it, and the books I'm writing, they're not going to be for sale. They're going to be printed, and they're going to be made in a PDF file. And I'm going to place them on my YouTube channel as a link, and I'm placing them on my website. You do not have to purchase them. You will not have to pay for them. I already know that people are going to take them and make books and copy them, and they already done it with my mentorship videos. There's people who have books right on Amazon right now. Literally, it's just the screenshots of the videos that you can see for free here. And they have it in Spanish, they have it in Russian, they have it in Chinese, they have it in all kinds of languages. I don't care. I don't need money. I don't want your money. I don't want your attention. I don't want your lifting me up. I don't want all that stuff. I want to just go and start doing things away from the marketplace, live my life with my family, and keep my focus on Christ. That's it. That's all I want. And if the world takes a toll on me like it's going to take a toll on everybody else, and I lose affluence, wealth, financial status, who cares? I've been homeless before. I've been broke before. I don't fear that stuff anymore. Having nice homes and cars and money and being able to do whatever I want to do, it's nice. It is. It's nice. But that doesn't give me happiness. If it did, I would be doing more of it. It doesn't. It doesn't give you happiness. What gives me happiness is knowing that I am a sinner, but I am forgiven. And all the things that's going on in the world right now was foretold exactly as it's happening. Russia, Iran, Israel, Turkey, all the players are on the chessboard right now. Ezekiel 38 and 39 and Psalm 83, you're about to see that stuff come to pass. You're going to see it. Jesus said that if you see the fig tree, that's the nation of Israel, blossom. That generation that sees that's going to see everything. So if you don't think the Bible's real, you don't think Christ is God, you don't think all the prophecies that was foretold, you don't think none of that's real, well, you have a timeline right now. You have till 2048, because a generation can't be any longer than 100 years. You're going to see Christ come back before 2048. There you go. There's a call for you. Put that in there. Screenshot that one. Before 2048, you're going to see Christ come back. Maybe a whole lot sooner than that. I'm of the opinion that it's probably going to be sooner than that. They're talking about sacrificing the red heifer, using its burnt ashes. There's only one reason for that. They're talking about building another temple. Well, that's interesting because Daniel talks about how this person's going to step in there and say, stop doing all of the oblations, and basically establishes himself like God. And that kicks off the Great Tribulation that lasts 3.5 years. But there's a whole lot of stuff going on prior to that that you don't want to be a part of. You don't want to see any of that stuff. And it's real easy to avoid it. Real easy to avoid it, but it's not popular in this world. You got to admit that you were born a sinner. And even though that you were a baby and you think you were innocent, in man's eyes, we see a baby as innocent. But we're born and shapen in iniquity. We're sinful. We have fallen nature in us by issue of blood. Adam and Eve sinned, and we are descendants. So it's passed down just like a disease. We're SIN positive in our blood. But God made a remedy for that. He came in the flesh. That's what makes him the Son. There's not a second person and a third person. It's one God. It's one God that came in the person, singular, of Jesus Christ. That flesh had a beginning. That Son was offered for us to die on a cross. And those that place their faith in his work and finished work on the cross and his death, burial, and resurrection, if you believe in that, and a lot of people think that's nonsense, it's foolishness. I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I'm thankful for that. If you place your faith in that, in him, and you obey the Acts 2:38, when Peter stood up and said, what are we going to do here? Repent, believe, repent, and be baptized in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ for the remission of sins. And then how did the disciples treat any new believer? They told him what to believe. Jesus is Lord. He's God in the flesh. He died, rose again on the third day. He was baptized by John. First Corinthians tells us what the gospel is. We were baptized with Christ in baptism. Every believer in the book of Acts, when Jesus told them, go therefore in all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. What's the name? Their titles. What's the name? Acts 4:12. There's no other name given among men whereby we must be saved. Christ. Jesus Christ. That's the Lord. That's God. He came in the flesh. And when you're baptized in his name, Jesus' name, for the remission of sins, you're buried with Christ and your sins are remitted. The fact that you got wet had nothing to do with it. The operation of the spiritual faith behind what it is that you're believing. You're solidifying your belief outwardly. Because he said, if you're ashamed of me, I'll be ashamed of you. And if you sin after that, he's faithful and just that he would forgive you if you repent and you acknowledge that you sin. That's how you walk with him. And I sin daily. Nobody's perfect. And you don't need to go to church. But you should read the Word of God. You should be doing that. And you should be looking for his coming. Because all the signs are around us right now. And nobody's religion had anybody come in the form of a man as a perfect sacrifice for sin of mankind. There's no other answer for sin in any other religion. And Christ ended religion. I'm not a religious person. And Jesus wasn't religious. He ended it. When he said it's finished, the earth shook, the sun went dark, and the temple, at the earthquakes coming, it tore the veil. That means there's the high priest, he tore his veil. He tore his robe. So Caiaphas ended the priesthood by that alone. And then the veil was torn and the temple was destroyed right there. Boom, it's over. And Jesus told him a couple days before that. It is written, my house shall be a house of prayer. But you've made it a den of thieves, exactly what our churches are doing right now. Support me. I'm a celebrity pastor. I got a security team detail in front of my stage while I'm performing and not even teaching you the gospel. Got people in there need help financially. Well, your tithe is for the Lord. Okay. How much of that income did you pay in tithe? None of that's biblical. And people go in and they leave unchanged because it's not a church. It's a business. Not all churches. I know some of you are hissing at me thinking, whoa, if you knew. I'm certain there are people out there running churches that are not like that. They're filled with believers. I'm saying mainstream Christianity. I have an issue with that too. So I'm not part of it. But Jesus ended religion. He was the most anti-religious person that ever walked this planet. But he's the only God. The only one. He's the Father because he created all things. He's the Son because he inhabited that flesh. He created that body he prepared, made of a woman under the law. It had a beginning. And he is the Holy Spirit. That's him. He's the Holy Ghost. His Spirit is the Holy Ghost. So how many gods is that? One. How many persons is it? One. It's the person of Christ, Jesus. So that's the name where you must be baptized in. Baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The name, not names, the name. There's no plurality in the Godhead. Jesus is either in the Godhead or the Godhead is in Jesus. And the Bible says all the fullness of the Godhead was in Christ. Whoops. I'm not going to go to church and play church with other people playing church. I want to be close to God. I want to be close to the Creator. I've heard him audibly. He's told me things that I would have not known. I've had things recorded in video. I've had things recorded in audio that deny any kind of doubt. And I don't care who believes or doesn't believe. When you have experiences like that, it changes you. That's just the bottom line. It changes you. And I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve any of those experiences, none of them. I didn't deserve the information I've been able to share with you. But I did tell him, if you open my understanding, I'll spend my life sharing this and give it to him. And here it is. So I do have another YouTube channel that YouTube runs ads on. I'm going to make a video proving that I don't have ad revenue on it because it's things of this faith-based idea. You're all welcome to take a look at it. And if it's something that's of interest to you, I've already got 3 videos up there. They're a little bit long-winded, but that's usually how I do things, isn't it? It may not be your cup of tea. It may be something that, if you're interested in just hearing me talk, because I got a lot of people say, I like listening to you talk, which I find that kind of weird because I don't like my voice. But it's Berean Study. Just do the @ symbol, Berean Study, BEREANSTUDY. That's the YouTube channel. The comment section's open. You guys can say whatever you want to say. If you're offensive about anything, you will be muted. You won't be able to. You'll see your comment, but nobody else will see it. It's really not meant for any kind of debate. I'm not going to debate anybody in another religion or an atheist. It's really not. It's not meant for that, because you're not going to convince me otherwise. And I know enough to know that unless the Lord draws you, you're not going to come to him. So in my youth, I was very overzealous and tried to convert people. I don't do that. So it was a project that I felt inspired to do and was encouraged by other people in my mentorship. And I got a 4th part coming this Friday. So it's a really long version of a discussion about it, but it may not be, like I said, it may not be for you. But I did want to at least give you the invitation to let you know that's what I'll be doing, since I won't be doing anything so much as you're used to seeing me do it as Inner Circle Trader. But I'd like to, as long as the Lord gives me time and mental faculties to be able to do it, I would love to keep doing what I'm doing over there. It's nothing that I'm monetized on. You're welcome to take them and share them, re-upload them. I don't care what you do with the videos. Like, I really don't care. My mentorship videos, the trading stuff, I have several channels that I'm going to be having taken down. Some of them are uploading them in their own language. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to do copyright strikes against them. You don't have my permission to do that, and you can be mad about it all you want. But if you're going to reteach my stuff, make your own slides. Okay, do all the hard work. You're not going to be allowed to do that type of stuff, at least not on YouTube. And again, don't buy it from other people because it's here for free. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need to do any of that stuff. But that's going to be it. I've had a lot of time with you this week. I've enjoyed the time I spent with you. I hope that you learned something today and yesterday and Monday. And hopefully I've cleared up some of the confusion about certain things about order blocks, fair value gaps, entry patterns, how to deal with hard market structures and high resistance liquidity run conditions. So if it's been beneficial to you, obviously I'd appreciate seeing it by a thumbs up. You can leave me a comment. Obviously I see all of them as well. But I don't know when I'm going to talk to you again, at least in this capacity. But if I don't ever talk to you again as Inner Circle Trader, I want you to know that it's been my honor and privilege to be a mentor for you to learn how to do this stuff. And I'm thankful for the relationships and the community that's been cultivated around all of it. I'm not the center point of it. It's the community itself. And that to me has been such a blessing. It's nice to see some individuals that are very active in pursuing the embetterment of themselves and to encourage their brethren that want to do the same thing. It's a real wholesome thing to see it. And I hope it continues. You don't need me to be a part of that. And I'm going to be watching, maybe distant, but I'll be watching nonetheless with adoration for all of you and hoping that you all do well with it. So on that note, just be safe.